The name of my presentation is Mounting Problems for Mountaire regarding what is currently known as Mountaire Farms of Delaware was formerly the Townsend and Central Grain Facilities in Millsboro, Delaware, until it was purchased in 2000. Mountaire is the sixth largest chicken company in the United States with locations in Arkansas, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina. This particular situation involves improper disposal of wastewater and sludge produced by Mountaire in Delaware and has been incredibly destructive in regard to residential drinking water quality, to the extent that Mountaire was actually required to provide gallons of drinking water to nearby residents as their water was deemed unsafe to drink. We were hired by our client to serve the residents in the area as things continued to escalate for the community. And as a quote from one of the newspapers locally, historic and past exceedances of nitrogen discharge limits have contributed to infiltration of excess nitrogen into the subsurface, where it has now migrated into the groundwater. Figure 2 shows 5 surface water sampling locations near Swan Creek that have spray irrigation areas in close proximity as well as sludge application areas from 2000 to 2008. Note the L&T tax ditch vicinity because we're coming back to this. And the wastewater permit that they had regulates spray irrigation for 13 fields, and CB 3D is actually divided into east and west. So it consists of 928 acres in total. There are residential wells that are only hundreds of feet away from these fields, which can have a significantly detrimental effect on the quality of drinking water in their homes, which is why groundwater monitoring wells were installed. So if we're able to identify what the nitrate concentrations are, and if they exceed the limit of 10 milligrams per liter, or aka parts per million, or ppm, which is the maximum concentration limit, or MCL, that EPA has set under the Safe Drinking Water Act. It would be very important to be proactively looking into these things and investigating and monitoring. So Mountaire alone has collected surface water samples. Figure 3 indicates spray irrigation rates per year. This wastewater is discharged into the irrigation fields all year round, regardless of the ground being frozen or impenetrable, or if the ground surface is covered in surface water from stormwater runoff. This is one of the reasons why USEPA was concerned with the spray irrigation from Mountaire as early as December 2000, but citations for improper disposal began as early as 2017. Surface water nitrate data upstream, including Mount Joy in green, Midpoint, including Longwood in purple, and downstream, including Camp Road in red, all of which are in close proximity to Swan Creek. That data is shown in the graph here, and it indicates that there are higher concentrations of nitrates downstream at all times, meaning contaminants are accumulating in this vicinity. DNREC data are available from 3 locations along Swan Creek, with data available from 1998 to 2019 for the farthest upstream sample location, which is Swan Creek at Mount Joy Road, and 1998 through 2010 for the next stations. Figure 4 shows nitrate, ammonium, and total nitrogen in groundwater at lagoon monitoring wells. And in case anyone's unfamiliar, a lagoon is essentially a basin for intake of water, and it's meant to hold the water as well as treat the wastewater. So lagoons are typically lined with materials such as clay or an artificial liner to prevent leaking of groundwater below. But however, Mountaire had several problems with the lining of their lagoons, thus resulting in numerous infractions and violations. So you can see where there are exceedances, and you can see that there are maximum values between 2018 and 2019. And you can also see the generalized groundwater flow path, which is shown in the blue arrows. The green circles indicate less than 5 milligrams per liter, orange is between 5 and 10, purple between 10 and 20, and red is greater than 20. And then you can see the Mountaire plant outline in black. Figure 5 shows nitrate and lysimeters between 2011 and 2019, showing monitoring well locations versus spray irrigation areas, all of which exceed 10 milligrams per liter. And Mountaire has a spray irrigation permit allowing the discharge of effluent from the site's wastewater treatment facility onto agricultural fields as a method of wastewater reuse and disposal. However, that is not including residential fields. And these lysimeters actually record the amount of water input or precipitation in relation to losses or evapotranspiration. And you can see a lysimeter profile on the right here in comparison to the result values that we obtained. Figure 6 shows sludge application in spray irrigation areas and the area of groundwater concern. And this shows exactly like the farms that are present within the area of groundwater concern, including Tolson, Harding, Miller, and Couples. Figure 7 shows Mountaire in relation to surrounding water bodies, including Swan Creek, which is in close proximity to the chicken farm. Swan Creek has been compromised by the contaminants produced by Mountaire. Figure 8 shows the Couples farm, which is west of the Mountaire plant, with spray irrigation areas to the right and sludge application areas directly above. The intention of the sampling was to provide an understanding of the actual concentration of nitrate in the percolate not taken up by crops, moving downward towards the groundwater. Installation of suction lysimeters was intended to collect vadostone percolate, which is the unsaturated portion of the subsurface between the ground surface and the water table. The sample shown on the left was taken from a stream on the Couples property, and clearly you can see that it is obviously contaminated even before the sampling results return. Figure 9 shows average nitrate in lysimeters according to each year, with a spike in 2017 due to major issues with the functionality of and regulation violations within the wastewater treatment plant of Mountaire during this time, which will be elaborated on later in this presentation. Figure 10 depicts maximum nitrate concentrations in groundwater from 2000 to 2019. Note where the Couples farm is located, with the blue star in the lower left towards middle region of the map. There are quite a few locations with nitrate exceedances in the surrounding vicinity, most of which are above 20 milligrams per liter. As you can see, there are multiple exceedances greater than 20 milligrams per liter in red, along with exceedances between 10 to 20 milligrams per liter in purple as well, and an abundance of nitrate levels between 5 and 10 milligrams per liter in orange, with very few below 5 milligrams per liter in green of maximum nitrate. The envelope of particle tracks can also be seen here outlined in brown. There were apparent problematic faults with the wastewater treatment plant on the property and several complaints from the residents of foul odors. The inadequacy of the wastewater treatment plant was no surprise to Mountaire, as there was a plethora of documents reiterating the issue in both internal and external correspondence, as well as an abundance of violations and citations from both DNREC and EPA. Nitrates, fecal coliform, and antibiotics are only a few of the contaminants that Mountaire is contributing to the water supply system. So we tested the temperature, conductivity, alkalinity, and pH well in the field, and sent over samples for the lab to analyze, including chloride, sulfate, fluoride, nitrate, iron, alkalinity, pH and hardness, and sodium. Other parameters that were tested for included nitrate, nitrite, and E. coli, as well as total coliforms. The equipment used includes a water sampling kit and a cooler to keep samples temperature controlled. Multi-parameter meters were used to measure the pH, conductivity, temperature, dissolved oxygen, and oxidation reduction potential. You can see the sampling kit over here on the first picture to the left, and that is from Chandler Systems. And nitrile gloves were included as PPE to protect the skin from the hydrochloric acid, which is used as a preservative for the water samples. You can see a video here that gives you a step-by-step process, and they're also using the nitrile gloves. And then there's the picture of the multi-parameter meter, which measures all the other parameters that we had to look into. So the particular process that we went through, I worked with my coworker Onik Savlaslian from SSPA, SS Papadopoulos and Associates. And my first instance with him was at Mountaire, the chicken farm of Delaware, for this litigation case that we were going through, including well water sampling to identify contamination. Step by step, this process would first involve preparing the sample kit with labels prior to going out in the field for efficiency. So you want to indicate sampling location, sample name, and date of the sample. Sometimes there are certain specific. As a closing statement, I suggest that you test your water, drink filtered water as much as you can, and be cautious when it comes to your water quality because you never know what's in it. And